Here's Bonecrusher. He's pulled him to the outside, shooting around them, and our Waverley Star's going with it.
He was the star of arguably the greatest single race this country has seen. It was rightly called the race of the century, as the two Kiwi champions settled down to fight out the 1986 Cox Plate. But there could only be one winner, and somehow, as good as his opponent was, you suspected Bonecrusher would come out on top. After all, his credentials going into this race of races were that of a world-class racehorse, a champion. As good, they claimed in New Zealand, as Balmerino, and who knows, perhaps another kindergarten. So what gave this racing machine from across the Tasman such a reputation? This may have something to do with it.
Into the straight, 400 metres to go. Sharp ace tackle by Antaeus, but Bonecrusher shot to the lead and Flight Bijot's now setting out after him. Bonecrusher in front though, he's 200 metres to go. He's got 2 lengths on. Out wide, Flight Bijot and Random Chance. Bonecrusher still in front. Flight Bijot now coming at him hard. Bonecrusher in front. Flight Bijot's closing. Bonecrusher running about, but he's still in front. Flight Bijot trying to pull him back. Bonecrusher in front, and he's won the derby. Second is Flight Bijot.
And this.
Bonecrusher goes to Balrani. Eva Grace 2 away, then Canterbury Bell asked to go now, but it's Bonecrusher. He slipped away. A good break of 3 at the 250. Canterbury Bell's flat to the boards, and so too is Eva Grace, and lack of reason, but it's Bonecrusher. He's too good, the colt. He's got ears pricked, and he's away by 4 lengths going to the post. A bit like is charging after him late. Bonecrusher in front, a bit like is charging home on the inside, but he's too late. Bonecrusher beat a bit like it.
Australian racegoers had caught a glimpse of Bonecrusher during the autumn of 1985, but he failed to fill a placing in 3 starts as a juvenile. It was a different Bonecrusher 1 year later.
And Tristark had raced to the lead. Tristark leads the Tancred Stakes fields around the bend and straightened up in front of a bit like a, followed by the Vagrant, and then Dolchez, a handy proverb behind them under pressure. Further back is Al Sophia and Rant and Rave down the extreme outside at the 200 mark, and a bit like her again beat off Tristark. A bit like her got clear of Tristark. The filly Dolchez trying hard to get to them. Rant and Rave, look at Bonecrusher. Bonecrusher down the outside is coming home right over the top of them. Rant and Rave and Bonecrusher. Bonecrusher won the Tancred. What a performance. Bonecrusher on the outside as they turn for home, and Easter is right on his wheel, and further back Handy Proverb. Over the rise now, Tierra Rista's the leader. Clear of Wilhelm, Drawn is coming through in the centre. Further out, Bonecrusher taking an age to get going. Easter is going with him, and on the extreme outside, Handy Proverb. 150 out, Tierra Rista's the leader. They're coming from all directions. It's Bonecrusher, Handy Proverb and Drawn. Bonecrusher put his head in front. He's got a great big heart. Bonecrusher, he'll win the derby. Bonecrusher, too good.
This was the start of Australia's love affair with the New Zealand superstar. He would return home after the 2-race Sydney campaign with one major aim, the Cox Plate. Bonecrusher resumed with close-up placings behind Waverley Star and Bourbon Boy in successive New Zealand starts, before arriving in Melbourne for the spring.
Bonecrusher's dashed away 3 in front into the straight. The Filbert second from Telek running on always somehow. Further back, Tristark struggling with Our Sophia. At the 200, Telek out after Bonecrusher's pegging it back at every stride. Bonecrusher the leader. Telek challenging the inside, but Bonecrusher will win. He's hanging on and he comes away again to win a length to Telek.
Telek may have won the McKinnon Stakes Melbourne Cup double, but the 1986 spring belonged to one horse, Bonecrusher. The Underwood Stakes win made him a raging hot 4-1 on favourite for the Caulfield Stakes.
Around the turn, Stuart eases Bonecrusher up to join Tristark, who's under the whip from Priceless Prince, and the modern-day Big Red sprints to the lead, 250 to go. Shot away from Tristark, Black Knight, Peerless Prince and the Filbert. And look out, land of the rising sun. Here we come to Japan. Bonecrusher by 5 lengths, racing away, scores by 5 lengths to Black Knight. Third placing to My Tristram's Bell.
And then, the great race. Bonecrusher would have started an unbackable favourite in the Cox Plate, but the horse that beat him first up over 1,200 metres, racing under the name of our Waverley Star in Australia, had built an enormous reputation. We could talk forever about the 1986 Cox Plate, but the late, great Bill Collins described it best.
Here come the New Zealanders, Our Waverley Star and Bonecrusher. They've raced to the lead, 600 out. Have they gone too early? 2 lengths to Drought running up the third from Society Bay. They were followed then by Drawn under the whip at the head of the others, Dinky Flyer. But our Waverley Star, he got a half length of Bonecrusher. He's gone for the whip on Bonecrusher. 3 lengths to Drought, followed then by Diggy Flyer and Drawn. But the two great New Zealanders have come away on the turn. Our Waverley Star, a half-length Bonecrusher. The Big Red won't give in. Drought running on. Bonecrusher responds to the whip. The roars of the crowd. He races up to our Waverley Star. 100 out. Bonecrusher, our Waverley Star. Stride for stride. Nothing in it. Our Waverley Star, the rails. Bonecrusher, the outside. And Bonecrusher races into equine immortality. $1.5 million as he photo finishes our Waverley Star.
Obviously one of the great races in Australian racing history, no question. With Bonecrusher, we'd sort of set his program to have him pretty well at his peak for the Cox. He's really been trained for the Japan Cup, but I think that was probably the reason why that when they kicked sort of so far out, he wasn't able to sort of foot it with Waverley Star. All of his preparations have been aimed at 1.5 miles. But all the same, he showed in that race outstanding courage. It was a great race, and it was just great to be a part of it, Gary.
It's something I've always wanted to do with the horse since, we discovered his enormous ability, is to prove that he's up to world class. Perhaps he's not, but it would be nice to find out. I've always believed that our best, and I repeat our best, Australasian thoroughbreds are up to American and European standard. Now, I've seen racing in America, but not in Europe, so perhaps don't know what I'm talking about, but you don't very often come along with a horse of the enormous ability of Bonecrusher. So it's a bit of a bee in my bonnet to prove that he is up to the world standard.
The world might have discovered what Australian and New Zealand racegoers already knew, but Bonecrusher's Japan Cup bid almost cost the champion his life. The Kiwi contracted a bacterial lung infection about a week before the Ritchie 2,400-metre race and had to be withdrawn. But there were more important matters at hand than just missing a race. Bonecrusher's condition had deteriorated to the stage that trainer Frank Ritchie had real concerns for his champ. Bonecrusher recovered, but the illness took its toll. He resumed with a 4th placing in the Group 1 Lion Brown sprint at Waikato. Then his class got him through at Avondale. He was set for another Australian campaign, although Ritchie later had doubts that he was ready for it.
Attelak's taken the lead at the 300, shot a length in front of Celastrius. Bonecrusher Stewart's gone for the whip as he makes his run on the outside, but Attelak's got 2 lengths on him. Bonecrusher's going to be everything we thought to get near Attelak. Attelak a length and a half in front. Bonecrusher trying hard. He's gradually making ground. Bonecrusher coming at Attelak. Will the champ get up? He lunges. Yes. Oh, it might be a dead heat.
It was the battle of the Cox Plate champion and the new breed weight for age class Melbourne Cup winner Attelak. It was another classic. It was to be Bonecrusher's last Australian win. A race Ritchie maintains took a lot out of his great galloper. He went on to win 3 more races in his homeland, including the Air New Zealand Stakes, and ran 3rd in the 1988 Australian Cup and Cox Plate. But whenever we think of Bonecrusher, one indelible image will always come to mind. The winner of that Cox Plate.
But you only dream of getting something like Bonecrusher. It just doesn't happen. They just don't come along, those sort of horses, to many people. I've been very fortunate that he's come into my life. And it's apart from all the gains that he's granted me, obviously more horses, more owners, it's the pleasure of having that horse go out and perform as he does is something that I don't think even the public can understand.